The stars belonged to the Valorian Empire. For 3,000 years, they had spread across the galaxy like a tide that never stopped. 847 worlds knelt before their throne. 847 species had surrendered without much of a fight. Admiral Wachter stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the holographic display. A small blue planet floated in the center. Earth, the latest world on his list. He expected this to take maybe a week. 2 at most. Send them the standard message, he told his communications officer. The message was simple. It always was. Submit to the Empire. Hand over your weapons. Accept Valorian governors. Or be destroyed. Minho rubbed his tired eyes and stared at his screen. He had been working at the Horizon 7 monitoring station for 6 years now. Most days were boring. He watched empty space and drank too much coffee. But today was different. The sensors had picked up something big. Really big. Hundreds of ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They were not human ships. His hands shook a little as he forwarded the data to Earth. First contact. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone. Now they had their answer. The reply came 3 hours later. Minho read it twice. Then he read it again. He could not believe what he was seeing. The aliens had sent a demand for surrender. Like Earth was some kind of colony they could just take over. Like humans would just give up their home without a fight. But the response from Earth was even stranger. It was not angry. It was not scared. It was calm. Almost polite. Hannah had written it herself. She was the chief diplomatic officer for the United Earth Coalition. She had dealt with difficult negotiations before. Wars between nations. Trade disputes. Border conflicts. But never anything like this. She typed carefully, choosing each word with care. To the Valorian Empire. We received your message. Earth has no interest in war. We are a peaceful people. But we must warn you strongly. Do not enter our atmosphere. We ask you to meet us in orbit. We can talk there. We can find a peaceful solution. Please listen to this warning. When Admiral Wachter read the response, he laughed. His officers laughed with him. A warning? From a species that barely had fusion power? From a world that still used chemical rockets? They think they can warn us, Wachter said, shaking his head. Scan their planet. What weapons do they have? The science officer worked quickly. No plasma cannons. No graviton shields. No antimatter warheads. Their most powerful weapons appear to be simple atomic fission devices. Very primitive. And they warn us, Wachter repeated. He found it amusing. What could they possibly have that would threaten the Empire? His second-in-command, a tall Valorian named Kresh, looked at the data. Their technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours. Their ships cannot even leave their own solar system. They are no threat. Wachter nodded. Prepare the fleet for atmospheric entry. We will land in their major cities. A show of force. They will surrender immediately when they see our power. Minho sent another message. He was desperate now. He had studied military history as a hobby. He knew what humans were capable of when threatened. He knew what Earth had done to itself over the centuries. Please, he transmitted. We have coordinates for a meeting point. Neutral ground in high orbit. There is debris there from our old satellites. It is dangerous to navigate. But we can guide you through it. We can talk. Please do not come down to Earth. No response. The Valorian fleet began moving. 300 ships, each one large enough to carry thousands of soldiers. They moved with perfect precision like a school of fish. Hannah sat in the emergency command center beneath Geneva. Around her, military leaders from every nation gathered. They had stopped fighting each other 20 years ago. United Earth had been born from the ashes of the last global conflict. But the weapons had not gone away. They had just been repurposed. They're not listening, she said quietly. They are coming in. General Park from the Korean Defense Force nodded. Then we show them why we warned them. Are we really doing this? Asked Commander Silva from the Brazilian Air Force. Starting a war with an interstellar empire? They started it, said General Okonkwo from the Pan-African Alliance. "We are just finishing it." Anna looked at the screen. The Valorian ships were entering the upper atmosphere now. She could see them on the satellite feeds. Massive vessels, glowing with the heat of re-entry. She pressed a button. Red lights began flashing in military bases across the planet.
Ice.
"All units," she said into the microphone. "This is not a drill. We have hostile forces entering our atmosphere. Weapons free. Defend Earth." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Wachter felt the first vibrations of atmospheric entry. The planet grew larger in the view screen. He could see the blue oceans, the white clouds, the green continents. It was beautiful. It would make a fine addition to the Empire. "Sir," his sensor officer said, "I am detecting active radar. Hundreds of sources. They are tracking us." "Let them track," Wachter said. "What can they do about it?" The sensor officer's face changed. "Sir, I am reading weapons lock. Multiple sources. Thousands of them." "Impossible," Wachter said. "They do not have the technology to." The first missile hit the shield of a ship 3 positions to his left. The shield held barely. Then another missile hit. And another. "Evasive maneuvers," Wachter shouted. But the ships were designed for space combat. In atmosphere, were slow, clumsy, and the missiles kept coming. Fast. Faster than the Valorian computers could track. One ship took a hit to its engine. It began to fall. Wachter watched in horror as it crashed into the ocean, throwing up a massive plume of water. "Return fire," he ordered. But their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat in space. In atmosphere, the plasma bolts scattered. The energy weapons lost cohesion. They were almost useless. Another ship exploded. Then another. "Retreat." Wachter finally screamed. Back to orbit now. The Valorian fleet turned. They ran. 47 ships did not make it. They fell burning from the sky or broke apart under the stress of rapid ascent. Minish watched from Horizon 7. He felt sick. He had hoped it would not come to this, but humans had ignored warnings before. Wars had started because someone thought they were stronger than they were. The Valorians had learned that lesson now. But Minho knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not give up so easily. The war for Earth had started. Jiho pulled his helmet on and ran across the tarmac. Alarms were screaming across the airbase. Red lights flashed in the pre-dawn darkness. He had trained for this his whole life, but he never thought it would actually happen. "All pilots to your fighters," the loudspeaker blared. "This is not a drill. We have hostile contacts entering Korean airspace." His F-90 Wraith was already prepped and waiting. The ground crew had worked through the night. Jiho climbed into the cockpit and started the systems. The neural link connected to his helmet. Suddenly, he could feel the aircraft like it was part of his body. "Tower, this is Eagle 7 requesting clearance for takeoff," he said into his radio. "Eagle 7, you are cleared for immediate takeoff. Good hunting." The Wraith's engines roared to life. Jiho pushed the throttle forward and shot down the runway. The acceleration pressed him back into his seat, and he was airborne, climbing fast into the dark sky. "Eagle Squadron, form up on me," he commanded. 11 other fighters joined him. They had flown together for 3 years. They knew each other's moves without speaking. "Contact," his co-pilot. Yuna's voice came through from the command center. She was not in the plane with him. She was hundreds of kilometers away, but the neural network made it feel like she was right there. 12 Valorian fighters at Angels 30. They are spreading out over the Sea of Japan. Jiho could see them on his display. Big, clumsy, built for the vacuum of space. Copy that. Moving to intercept. The Valorian pilots saw the Earth fighters coming. They were confused. These primitive aircraft should not be able to reach this altitude. Their intelligence report said humans could barely fly above 15 kilometers, but the Wraiths were not normal aircraft. They switched between 3 different engine types mid-flight. Scramjet for speed, rocket for altitude, conventional for maneuverability. The Valorian sensors could not keep up with the changes. Jiho fired first. His missiles were not like the ones from 50 years ago. These had their own AI, they thought. They learned, They adapted. The first missiles saw the Valorian ship dodge left and immediately predicted it would dodge right next. It was correct. The explosion lit up the sky. Splash 1. His squadron cheered. But there was no time to celebrate. More Valorian ships were coming. Lots more. In the command center deep beneath Sol, Tay looked at the screens. He commanded 5,000 Marines. They were the best soldiers Earth had. But they had never fought aliens before, sir, his lieutenant said. We are getting reports of teleportation signatures. They are beaming troops directly into the city. Tay grabbed his rifle. All units, defensive positions, they are coming to us. The Valorian soldiers materialized in the middle of downtown Seoul. 200 of them. They wore advanced armor. They carried plasma weapons. They expected to face scared civilians and primitive police. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by kill zones. Every building had firing positions. Every street corner had been prepared. Tay's forces had trained for urban combat their entire careers. They knew every centimeter of this city. The first Valorian squad moved down a street. They walked in a tight formation. Good for open ground. Terrible for cities, Ta gave the signal. Snipers fired from the rooftops. Mines exploded in the streets. Machine guns opened up from concealed positions. The Valorian shields stopped the first few bullets, but not all of them. They did nothing against the shockwave from the explosives. Fall back, the Valorian commander shouted. But where? Every direction was a trap. Half the Valorian force died in the first 5 minutes. The rest retreated to an open plaza. They tried to teleport back to their ships, but Tay's engineers had deployed jamming devices. Humanity had been jamming communications for a century. It was not hard to adapt it to alien technology. No escape, Tay said into his radio. Accept their surrender if they offer it. High above the planet, Admiral Wachter watched his forces fall apart. This was impossible. How could a primitive species fight like this? Status report, he demanded. 47 ships lost in the first engagement, Kresh reported. His voice was shaking. Ground forces are pinned down in multiple cities. Our fighters cannot compete in atmospheric combat. And their missiles, sir. Their missiles are too fast. Our point defense cannot track them. Wachter slammed his fist on the console. How they should not have this technology. Transmission came through. It was from Earth, the woman from before. Hannah. Her face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but not afraid. Admiral Wachter, she said. We warned you. Told you not to enter our atmosphere. You did not listen. You're using illegal weapons. Wachter shouted. Your missiles. Have artificial intelligence? That is forbidden by galactic law. Hannah looked confused. We are not part of your galactic community. We did not agree to your laws. These are our weapons. We made them. We have every right to use them to defend our home. This is not over, Wachter said. I have 800 ships in this fleet. I will crush you. You have 753 ships, Hannah corrected him. We have been counting. And if you continue this attack, that number will keep going down. This is your second chance. Leave now while you still can.
Act.
Cut the transmission. His pride would not let him retreat. Not now. Not after losing so many ships. Call in the second wave, he ordered. All ships. Full assault. I want overwhelming force. Kresh hesitated. Sir, perhaps we should do it, Wachter roared. Yuna watched the orbital tracks from her station. The Valorians were bringing in more ships. Hundreds of them. This was going to get much worse before it got better. She routed the data to every defense network on the planet. Humans had spent 50 years connecting all their military systems. Every nation, every base, every weapons platform was all linked through her AI coordination system. The system was not one single computer. It was distributed across millions of nodes. Satellites, ground stations, even gaming servers that volunteered their processing power. You could not kill it by destroying one location. It was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Incoming wave detected, UNA announced to all forces. 800 vessels. Estimated time to engagement, 14 minutes. Around the world, humans prepared. Fighter pilots started their engines. Ship crews loaded their railguns. Ground forces took positions. Civilians moved to shelters deep underground. Jiho was refueling when the alert came. "Here we go again," he said to himself. His hands did not shake anymore. The fear had been replaced by something else. Determination. This was his home. These aliens thought they could just take it. They were wrong. His wraith was already climbing back into the sky when the second wave hit. This time, the Valorians did not hold back. They fired everything: plasma cannons, energy beams, kinetic bombardment. The sky above Earth turned into hell. But humans had been making hell for each other for thousands of years. They knew how to survive it. More importantly, they knew how to fight back. Tay led his Marines out of the tunnels. Valorian ground troops were landing in Central Park in New York now, or were touching down in Paris, London, Beijing, Moscow. They were trying to capture major cities all at once. "Let them come," Tay said to his forces. "Every street they take is a street we know better than they do. Every building they enter is a trap. This is our world. We are not giving it up." The battle for Earth was just beginning. The Valorians were starting to realize they had made a terrible mistake. Donghae watched the battle from his station on the orbital platform, Lighthouse 3. Most people did not know these platforms existed. They looked like old communication satellites on radar. Big, boring, floating junk. They were not junk. "Target acquired," his weapons officer reported. "Valorian cruiser, range 3,000 kilometers. Fire," Donghae ordered. The railgun spoke. There was no sound in space, but Donghae felt the vibration through the platform. A tungsten rod shaped like a spear accelerated to nearly the speed of light. It traveled the distance in a heartbeat. The Valorian cruiser's shields tried to stop it. Shields were designed to deflect energy weapons, slow down fast objects. But this was just metal. Very, very fast metal. Physics did the rest. The rod punched through the shield like it was not there. It kept going through the hull, through the engines. Out the other side, the cruiser broke in half. "Splash one," Donghae reported calmly. Reloading. The Valorians did not even know where the shot had come from. Their sensors could not track something that simple. No energy signature. No heat bloom. Just a piece of metal moving really fast. All around Earth's orbit, 20 hidden platforms were doing the same thing. The Valorians had numbers. But humans had surprised. Deep in a research facility in Switzerland, Suji examined the Valorian soldier on her table. He was not dead, just unconscious. His squad had surrendered after being trapped in Tokyo for 3 days without supplies. "This is interesting," she said to her assistant. "Very interesting. What did you find?" He asked. Suji pointed to the brain scan. "Look at this structure. The Valorians have never evolved under pressure. Their history shows they became the dominant species on their planet because they were the only intelligent species. No competition, no predators, no wars. So their bodies are not built for stress. Their nervous system overloads easily. Put them in sustained combat, and they break down faster than humans. We adapted to warfare. They did not." She typed up her report and sent it to military command. Within an hour, every unit on Earth had new orders. Do not let the Valorians rest. Keep up the pressure. Night raids. Constant harassment. Make them feel like they are always under attack. Tay read the report and smiled. "This is going to work," he said. His Marines had already been doing this by instinct. Now they had scientific proof it was effective. While soldiers fought on the ground, Mira was fighting a different kind of war. She sat in a small apartment in Seoul, surrounded by computer screens. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She was part of an international hacker group. Before the invasion, they had fought each other. Chinese hackers versus American hackers. Russian hackers versus European hackers. Everyone's spying on everyone else. Now they work together. I found a backdoor in their communication system, she typed into the group chat. Hackers from 30 countries were online. How? Someone from Brazil asked. They use quantum encryption. Very advanced. But their user interface is designed for simplicity. They never thought anyone would try to hack them. So they used default passwords on their admin accounts. There was a moment of silence. Then someone from India typed, "Are you serious? An interstellar empire uses default passwords?" They never had to worry about cyber warfare, Mira replied. They always had the best technology. No one ever hacked them before. Till now, added a hacker from South Africa. Mira's fingers danced. I am uploading a virus. It will spread through their fleet network. Nothing deadly. Just annoying. It will make their sensors ghost readings. Their weapons will need constant recalibration. Their navigation will drift slightly off course. Death by 1,000 cuts, someone commented. Exactly, Mira said. On the flagship, Admiral Wachter was dealing with a nightmare. His sensors kept reporting enemy ships that did not exist. His weapons kept missing their targets. His navigation officers reported that the fleet had drifted 300 kilometers off course. Fix it, he shouted at his engineers. We are trying, sir, they replied. But every time we patch one problem, 2 more appear. It is like the system is infected with something. That is impossible, Wachter said. Our systems are quantum encrypted, unhackable. But clearly, they were not. The turning point came 72 hours into the battle. Human forces managed to capture a Valorian supply ship intact. The crew had abandoned it when it took damage over the Atlantic Ocean. A recovery team pulled it into a dry dock in Norway. Engineers swarmed over it immediately. Nari was one of them. She was a physicist who specialized in propulsion systems. She'd been studying faster-than-light travel for 20 years. Now she had a working example right in front of her. This is incredible, she breathed, looking at the FTL drive. The principles are completely different from our theories, but also ... simpler. She worked for 3 days straight. Her team took the drive apart piece by piece. They documented everything. They tested every component. Can we copy it? Her supervisor asked. Copy? No, we do not have the materials. We do not have the manufacturing capability. It would take us years to build one from scratch. Then what good is it? Nari smiled. I did not say we could not use it, and I definitely can tell you how to break it. Look here, the drive creates a stable warp field. But if you hit it with an electromagnetic pulse at exactly this frequency, the field collapses. Violently. How violently? It would tear the ship apart from the inside. Within hours, every human fighter and missile was being equipped with specialized EMP generators. They were not powerful enough to fry electronics, but they were tuned to exactly the right frequency to destroy Valorian FTL drives. Jiho was the first pilot to test it. He locked onto a Valorian destroyer and fired. The missile hit. The destroyer's shields held, but then the ship just came apart. The hull twisted. Metal screamed. The ship broke into 4 pieces. What the hell? Jiho said. Command, did you see that? We saw it, Yuna replied from the command center. That is our new secret weapon. Every ship you hit with those missiles will not be able to retreat. Their FTL drive will be destroyed. The Valorian fleet was in trouble. They could not advance. They could not hold their ground. And now they could not retreat either. Admiral Wachter received a casualty report. 200 ships lost. 300 damaged. Half his ground forces were dead or captured. And now his ships were being destroyed in ways he did not understand. Sir Kresh said carefully, Perhaps we should consider withdrawal. Cannot withdraw without FTL, Wachter said bitterly. Half our ships have damaged drives. And I am receiving reports that any ship hit by the human missiles cannot jump to FTL at all. Then what do we do? Wachter looked at the tactical display. Earth sat in the center, glowing blue and green, beautiful, deadly? We call for reinforcements, he said finally. Send a quantum message to the Empress. Tell her we need the reserve fleet, all of it, sir. All of it. The message was sent. It would take time for the fleet to arrive. Time that Admiral Wachter did not have. Below on Earth, Hannah sat in the command center. She was exhausted. The whole world was exhausted. But they were winning. The Valorians are calling for help, her intelligence officer reported. We intercepted the message. They are bringing in their reserves. How many ships? At least 1,000. Maybe more. The room went quiet. They had barely survived 800 ships. How could they fight against 1,000 more? But Hannah remembered something her grandfather had told her. He had fought in the last global war. Humans do not give up, he had said. Especially when someone tells us we cannot win. Looked around the room at the tired faces, soldiers, scientists, engineers, hackers, pilots. All of them had been fighting for days, without rest. We knew this would not be easy, she said. But we have shown them that we will not surrender. We have proven that Earth is not just another planet to conquer. When their reinforcements arrive, we will be ready. She just hoped that was true. Heian stood on the bridge of the converted cargo ship Hope's Defiance. It was not much to look at. Before the war, it had carried containers between Asia and Europe. Now it carried something much more dangerous. How are we looking? He asked his engineer. The FTL drive is holding, she replied. Barely. We pulled it out of that wrecked Valorian ship and basically taped it together. It will work once, maybe twice. Then it will probably explode. Once is all we need, Heian said. Around him, 30 other converted civilian ships waited. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, even a cruise ship. All of them now had FTL drives pulled from damaged Valorian vessels. All of them were crewed by volunteers who knew this might be a one-way trip.
Our ships?
Heian transmitted. You know the mission. The Valorian fleet gets its supplies from a depot ship that stays in the outer system. We jump there. We destroy it. We jump back. Simple. And if we cannot jump back... Someone asked Tuyon was quiet for a moment. Then we make sure the mission succeeds anyway. No one argued. They all knew what they had signed up for. Jump in. 3.2.1. Mark. Space twisted. For a moment, Hyun felt like he was being pulled inside out. Then they were somewhere else. The Valorian supply depot hung in space ahead of them. It's massive and UN defting. The Valorians had never needed to defend their supply lines before. No one had ever been able to reach them. All weapons. Fire at will. Heian ordered. The human ships might have been civilian vessels, but they carried military weapons now. Railguns, missiles, even old nuclear warheads pulled from storage. Everything humanity could throw at the enemy. The supply depot did not stand a chance. It broke apart in a series of explosions. Food, ammunition, fuel, and spare parts scattered into space. Jump back. Now, Hyun shouted. His ship jumped. So did 20 others. 9 ships did not make it. Their drives failed, or they jumped to the wrong coordinates, or they simply disappeared. Hyun said a prayer for them, but the mission had worked. The Valorian fleet was now cut off from supplies. On Earth, Nari was working on another problem. The Valorian shields were strong against energy weapons and bullets, but she had noticed something interesting in the captured technology. They have never encountered chemical explosives, she told the military commanders. Their shields are designed for plasma, lasers, and kinetic rounds. But old-fashioned explosives? They just pass right through. Are you sure? General Park asked. I tested it myself. A stick of dynamite will go right through their shields as if they are not there. The shields do not recognize chemical reactions as a threat. Within days, human forces were using weapons that had not been seen in decades. Thermobaric bombs. White phosphorus. Even simple grenades. The Valorians watched in horror as primitive explosives tore through their defenses. Tay's Marines started using Molotov cocktails against Valorian armor. It worked, The shields stopped bullets, but burning fuel just poured right through. "This is insane," one of his soldiers said, watching a Valorian tank burn. "We are fighting an interstellar empire with bottles of gasoline." "Whatever works," Tay replied. But not everyone on the Valorian side was happy with the war. Captain Relmac sat in his quarters and stared at the casualty reports. 300 ships lost. 50,000 soldiers dead. For what? A planet that did not want to join the Empire? He had been in the Valorian military for 40 years. He had participated in 12 conquests. Every single one had been easy. The species they encountered had surrendered quickly. Sometimes without even fighting. Earth was different. These humans fought like demons. They were outgunned, out-teched, and outnumbered. But they would not give up. Relmac's communication console beeped. A coded message. Not from the Admiral. From Earth, he should have reported it immediately. But curiosity made him open it.
Captain Relmac.
"My name is Yoon. I am a diplomatic officer from Earth. I am reaching out to you because our intelligence suggests you are a reasonable person. We do not want this war. We never wanted it. But we will not surrender our home. If there are others in your fleet who feel the same way, please contact me. Perhaps together, we can find a way to end this." Relmac sat back. This was treason. If Admiral Voktor found out he had even read this message, he would be executed. But he was tired of this war. Tired of watching his crew die for Imperial pride, he typed a response. The battle raged for 2 more days. Then something changed. Admiral Voktor was leading his flagship in an attack on the lunar base when 3 human destroyers appeared from behind the moon. They had been waiting in ambush. The destroyers fired everything they had: missiles, railguns, nuclear weapons. The flagship's shields held against most of it, but not all. "Hull breach on Deck 7, an officer shouted. "We are losing atmosphere." "Seal that section," Voktor ordered. "Return fire." But the flagship was wounded badly. Another volley hit the engines. The massive ship began to drift. "Abandoned ship," Voktor finally screamed. "All crew to the escape pods." The flagship Eternal Conquest had led the Valorian Empire to victory for 300 years. Now, it was breaking apart above Earth. Voktor watched from his escape pod as the ship exploded. 3,000 crew members were still inside. His fleet was falling apart. Ships were retreating on their own. Some were surrendering. Others were just trying to get far enough away to jump to FTL. Admiral Kresh's voice came through his communicator. "The fleet is fragmenting. We have lost command cohesion. We need to withdraw." "Cannot," Voktor said bitterly. "The Empress is watching." She sent a message. "She is coming personally." With the Grand Fleet, Kresh was silent. The Empress had not left the homeworld in 200 years. If she was coming, it meant she was serious. "How long until she arrives?" Kresh asked. 3 days? On Earth, the news spread quickly. The Empress herself was coming, in a ship 10 times the size of anything they had seen so far. With a fleet of 200 fresh warships, humanity had been fighting for a week straight. They were exhausted. Low on ammunition, many of their best pilots and soldiers were dead or wounded. Minho looked at the sensor. Data from Horizon 7. The approaching fleet was massive. The lead ship, the Empress's dreadnought, was big enough to have its own gravity. "Can we win?" his assistant asked quietly. Minho did not answer right away. He thought about everything humanity had accomplished. They had fought off an empire that had conquered 800 worlds. They had proven that humans were not just another primitive species to be enslaved. But could they win against this? "I do not know," he finally said. "But we are about to find out." Hannah received a priority message. It was from Captain Relmac. She read it 3 times to make sure she understood. "The Empress is coming," Relmac wrote, "but she is not coming to destroy you. She wants to talk." Admiral Vokta's invasion was unauthorized. The Empire did not expect you to fight back this hard. The Empress wants to understand how you did it. She is coming for answers, not conquest. Hannah showed the message to the military commanders. It could be a trick, General Park said. Or it could be our only chance to end this war, Hannah replied. The decision was made. They would wait for the Empress, but they would be ready to fight if they had to. The Empress's dreadnought dropped out of FTL at the edge of the solar system. The ship was called Infinite Throne, and it lived up to its name. It was massive beyond belief, big enough to hold a city, powerful enough to destroy a planet. 200 warships escorted it, fresh crews, full ammunition. This was the Empire's final reserve, the fleet that had never been defeated. On Earth. Every sensor was pointed at the approaching armada. Every weapon was ready. Every soldier stood at their post, but the Empress did not attack. Instead, she sent a message. I request a meeting with your leaders. I will come alone, unarmed, to a location of your choosing. I wish to talk. Hannah read the message in the emergency command center. Around her, the military leaders argued. It is a trap, someone said. We should strike first while we have the chance, another voice added. But President Soha, the leader of the United Earth Coalition, raised her hand for silence. If she wanted to destroy us, she could just start firing from orbit. She came here to talk. We should listen. The meeting was arranged. The location was neutral ground, a space station in high orbit that had been abandoned years ago. Human engineers checked every centimeter for bombs or weapons. They found nothing. The Empress arrived in a small shuttle. She came alone, as promised. When she stepped out, Hannah was surprised by what she saw. The Empress was old. Not just old, ancient. Her skin was pale, almost translucent. She moved slowly, carefully, but her eyes were sharp, alert. She had ruled the Valorian Empire for over 600 years through life extension technology. Thank you for meeting with me, Empress, Thelanara said. Her voice was soft but carried weight. I apologize for the actions of Admiral Wachter. He exceeded his authority. President Soha sat across from her. Hannah stood nearby. No weapons were visible, but everyone knew soldiers were watching from hidden positions. Your admiral killed thousands of our people, Soha said. Damaged our cities. Attacked our home without provocation. I know, the Empress replied. And for that, the Empire will pay reparations. But I did not come here to make excuses. I came because I want to understand something. How did you fight back so effectively? No species has ever resisted the Empire like you did. Hannah spoke up. Because we had to. You gave us no choice. The Empress nodded slowly. But it is more than that. I have studied your planet, your history. You are unique in the galaxy. Do you know why? Why? Soha asked. Every other species we encountered reached advanced technology after they unified their planet. They became one people, one government. Then they developed space travel and weapons. But Earth? You reached the nuclear age while you were still divided into hundreds of nations. You created artificial intelligence while you were still fighting among yourselves. You weaponized everything before you made peace. The Empress stood and walked to the window. She looked down at the blue planet below. She survived 5 mass extinctions. Ice ages. Plagues. Disasters that would have destroyed any other species. And you did not just survive. You thrived. You learned from every catastrophe. Every war. Every mistake. Is that supposed to be a compliment? Hannah asked carefully. It is an observation, the Empress said. The Valorian Empire grew strong because we conquered Icely. We found young civilizations and absorbed them. We never had to truly fight. Our military tactics are 3,000 years old because we never needed to change them. But you? You have been fighting for your entire existence? Against nature. Against each other. Against everything. She turned back to face them. I came here expecting to conquer another primitive world. Instead, I found warriors who had been preparing for war since they learned to throw rocks. Your weapons are crude compared to ours. But you know how to use them better than we ever could. You adapted. You improvised. You made our advantages into disadvantages. President Soha leaned forward. What do you want from us, Empress? I want peace, Thelanara said simply. I want to end this war before more of my people die. And I want to offer you something. What? Trade. Alliance. A place in the galactic community. But not as subjects. As equals. The Empire has ruled through conquest for too long. Perhaps it is time we learned a different way. The room was silent, and in exchange, Hannah asked, I want to learn how you did it. How did hundreds of nations that hated each other manage to unite? How did you stop fighting long enough to face an external threat? The Valorian Empire is fracturing. Rebellions are starting on a dozen worlds. They saw what happened here. They saw that the Empire can be defeated. I need to know how to hold my civilization together without conquest. It was an honest admission. The Empress was not trying to hide her weakness. President Soha looked at Hannah. They had a silent conversation. Then Soha turned back to the Empress. We accept your offer of peace. We will share what we know about conflict resolution, but we have conditions. You withdraw all your forces from our solar system immediately. You pay for the damage you caused, and you release all the species you have conquered and give them the choice to remain in the Empire or leave. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. The last condition would destroy the Empire. Then maybe the Empire needs to be destroyed, Soha said, and something better built in its place. Lenara smiled. It was the first time anyone had talked to her like that in centuries. You are brave. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. Very well. I accept your terms. They shook hands. Human and Valorian. The war was over. 5 years later, Minho stood on the observation deck of Horizon 7 and watched a new ship dock. It was a joint Earth-Valorian vessel, built by both species working together. The war had changed everything. The Valorian Empire had released its conquered worlds. Some chose to stay, some left. All were given the choice. Earth had become something unexpected. Not a military power, though they had proven they could fight, but a diplomatic power, a place where former enemies came to learn how to make peace. Jiho now trained Valorian pilots in atmospheric combat, not to fight Earth, but to defend their own worlds better. Tay's urban combat techniques were being taught across the galaxy. Species that had been conquered were learning how to fight back. Against oppression, Neris's research had led to new propulsion systems that combined human and Valorian technology. Ships could now travel farther and faster than ever before. Hannah had become Earth's ambassador to the galaxy. She traveled to distant worlds, helping negotiate treaties and resolve conflicts. On a distant station, Admiral Voctor watched the news feeds. He was in exile, forbidden from ever returning to Valorian space. He had lost everything because he did not listen to a simple warning. The news showed Earth's first embassy on a former Valorian colony world. Humans and aliens working together, learning from each other. We should have listened, Voctor said to himself. They warned us, but we did not listen. Back on Earth in a small apartment in Seoul, Mira was teaching Valorian engineers about cybersecurity. They were eager students, especially after she had hacked their entire fleet. The key, she explained, is to never assume you are unhackable. Always assume someone smarter is trying to break in. Always be ready to adapt. It was a very human philosophy, and the galaxy was learning to appreciate it. The war had ended, but something new had begun. Humanity had proven they belonged among the stars, not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as equals. As teachers, as friends, the Empire had been warned. They had not listened, and now the galaxy would never forget what happened when Earth said no. But more importantly, they would remember what came after. When enemies became allies, when war became peace, when the impossible became possible, because that was what humans did best. They survived. They adapted. They never gave up. And now they were sharing that strength with the entire galaxy.